I have not been able to do a video in a little while, but we have this thick hair here that we are going to do this braid down on, and we can catch up and talk then. So if you guys have some really thick hair like hers and you want a flat braid down, one you can pull it to a ponytail and one that gives the illusion when you pull it up in the ponytail like they're individuals, this is it. Now you always want to know your hair for the thickness of part. So this is the hair that we are using today. She just grabbed this from the beauty supply store. We want to look at the thickness of the braid because we want to make that part at least about double the thickness of the braid from that package of hair. And you always want to add a little bit of weave on those fronts so that way it makes a closer look for the individual look in the front. The sides and the back, depending on the person, they may need more structure, so using the braiding hair is fine. Always do just a little. You don't want a whole lot of braiding hair. You want just a little because the point is to, one, make it so that way you have a tail piece for the people with shorter hair. Two, you want to make sure that it gives a little bit more structure for the person that has the thinner hair. Hers is pretty thick, so she really doesn't need it all around, but I like it on the front edge just because of how the braids look when they're laid on there. And for the part behind the ear, you want to part a decent amount behind the ear. You don't want to be so close to the ear, so making it where at least like 2 crochet braids can fit in that spot is really good. Anything closer will create a bulk, so when they pull it into the ponytail, it'll have like this hump on the whole perimeter. So you want to keep the same thickness or width of your braid going all the way around the entire perimeter. I add a little bit of hair going right behind the back just so the braid lays flat and it doesn't turn or curve as I'm connecting those crochets on them. Now the part that makes it where you're able to see no long parts all down the back of the person's head, down the side, whatever, is each braid along the front crisscrosses. That's the key. Always make sure each braid crisscrosses so that way they have a part, but they don't have an ocean going all the way down the back of their head. We don't want to see a wide super part. So keep them good, but keep them to the point where it's just the part, it's not super far back. And then you crisscross like how I laid that one, and then I just braid down using that little bit of hair that I have in the back behind the braids, and it keeps that braid flat going all the way down. If you guys are new to my channel, welcome. I have been doing these videos where they're like a tutorial, but not too much of a tutorial where I'm going very, very detailed. I usually leave those for smaller setting groups, but this is good for people that are visual learners, but at the same time, you want those tips that can help you make the style better. And if you're doing them at home and you're having issues, me giving these different tips lets you see what's going wrong in your hairstyle or how you can make something a little better. So that's the goal of these. They're not really to be super slowed down tutorials where we're doing very beginner step by step. So as you guys braid down, having that little tip of braiding hair in there gives you the extension for people with thick hair where it would leave a blunt tip, or people with short hair where it would leave a blunt tip or it would fall out of the crochet braid. You don't want that. So when you put the crochets on and then people are losing braids, typically they're losing braids because one of these back tail braids came loose. And the way you can prevent that is having that little bit of extra braiding hair on the tip of that. So that way, as you add it to the other braids, the length of that braiding hair keeps it where it does not come out. So you won't have to worry about anything like, oh, I done lost a couple crochets, or somebody calling like, hey, some of my hair didn't came down. Nope, none of that. You're gonna be good because of that little thing of adding a little extra braiding hair to the tails of the braids. So this front one, make your parts where they can part pretty much anywhere. That's my goal here. I like to make it where they can do side parts, a deep side part, and a middle part. Those are typically where people fall. They really like those areas. You really don't get too many people that part in different spots outside of that. They're either one or the other. So I always make sure those are available when I'm doing my crochets. So yeah, just go ahead, part off your parts, make them really neat, and make sure you crisscross them. That is the goal for making it where it looks like there's no super long parts. Okay, let's talk products. products on your crochet. After you finish getting that person washed and all of that, you always want to make sure you are doing your regulars, where you are doing leave-in conditioners and some type of hydrating and moisturizing products for your hair before you even attempt the braid down. So she has already had that. And then even on top of that, since we've already done the blowout, things like that, we are doing some extra lotion to the ends of her hair. Your crochets are going to be up for a long time. If somebody is saying they only leaving it up for a month, usually they're lying. It's gonna go longer, and they finna be like, oh well, I ain't got time this weekend, so I'm gonna have to do it next weekend. That's how it always go, and then they've had it longer than 6 weeks. So 4 weeks or less is best if you are doing this as a protective style. If you have went over the 4 weeks, you're going to have dry hair. So in order to prevent that as much as possible, make sure that you are adding some type of moisturizing lotion, leave-in conditioner, or something to your braids as you are braiding them down. That is what you see me doing here. I'm adding in that extra lotion, and I'm only putting it on the tips because 1, she has already had product put on there to begin with. 2, as I am braiding down, I'm going to be smoothing that product down the shaft of the hair anyway. So this is that extra added moisture for her hair, because we don't want it to dry out so bad where she has a dry, brittle situation going when she takes her crochets down. And that's usually the problem with a lot of people that wear crochets. And it's because they wear them so long. Crochets are great, but they're one of those things where you can only hydrate your scalp. So even though you're moisturizing your hair, where a lot of people are oiling, they're not hydrating. Hydrating is the key. So hydration sprays, mist, hydrating mist, things like that you want to do to your hair daily. Give it to it daily. But you can't reach the strands properly inside of a braid. No matter what braid style you got, unless your hair is a natural braid itself, you can soak those down a little bit more versus a braiding hair. Braiding hair, you're not getting to your strands, especially if your hair is tucked under some braids. Call it a day, it's not happening. So make sure that you are misting daily, oil as needed. Oil is great to add that moisture where you are keeping that hydration that you put on there longer. That's the point of it. And if you have a oil that is a stimulator for people that have issues with hair growth, it helps stimulate for the scalp to grow the hair out. But our problem most of the time, the hair is already out of the scalp. We need hydration on the strands. If you guys are looking for hydration products, check the description. I will leave some link down there below. Lotions, mist sprays, they are the best. Oils, remember your oil is to help it stay longer. That's one of the best ways to think about it. And always think daily, especially when you have styles that are like this where it's braided. When you're in twists, you have a better chance of actually having moisture last longer or actually being able to saturate the twist. Braids, you just don't. Sorry. When you guys get to that final tail, when you're braiding it down, make sure you braid down far enough past that person's hair and secure the end of it. Me, I have a habit of just doing the knots just because I'm used to doing it, but I could have easily just burned the tip because I'm gonna burn the tip anyway. So don't mind me, you know, you do what works best for you. This is what my mind is used to doing. And then I like to burn the tip because it keeps it from, even if that knot has come undone somehow, I know the burnt pieces are not coming undone. And then I like to sew the tails down. If you use the crochet hook to crochet them in there, it looks nice, but usually they end up coming out somehow. So sewing them down keeps it where that tail does not stick out, because that's embarrassing, y'all. Having somebody that got a tail that's sticking out later and somebody to walk past like, oh, your hair is cute, and they turn around, they'd be like, oh, So try to keep everybody, you know, in that moment where they feel good, they feel cute, and nobody's looking at them crazy. When you guys are adding the crochet hair in, always think to angle your crochet hook towards the outside of wherever the braid is. So this one, I'm going like towards the angle of the ear. So that way, as I push the knot of the braid down, it looks like it's a braid, like this coming from an individual. If you do it where it's a different angle, they kind of don't lay like how this does when you pull it back and it looks like they're individuals pulled up. So keep that in mind. All right, I'm gonna let you guys see some angles and clips from some finished ones, and I will see you guys in the next video.